बहुत ready है.
Good morning, students. Today I am Dr. Abhishek Kumar Singh from Department of Physiology, ANMCH, Deptt, and my topic for today is Central Nervous System, the first chapter, Introduction of Central Nervous System. Central Nervous System, as we all know, is functional organization of nervous system, means it is a system of communication that allows to interact with the external environment. So it's a communication system. It also a system of integration that coordinates functions of various internal organs of the body. So basically the central nervous system or the CNS includes two things, brain and spinal cord. Brain as such is divided further into three categories: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain is also called as prosencephalon, midbrain also called as mesencephalon, and hindbrain also called as rhombencephalon. Now, further, forebrain can be divided into two categories or two parts, that is telencephalon and diencephalon. Telencephalon includes the two cerebral hemispheres of the brain, while the diencephalon includes thalamus, hypothalamus, metathalamus, subthalamus. Now what are the functions? Forebrain's function. The telencephalon part of the forebrain functions in planning and programming of responses, in perception of sensations, in cognition, learning and in memory. And the functions of diencephalon part of the forebrain includes, it basically acts as a relay of information to the cortex and it controls the autonomic and the endocrinal functions. Coming to mesencephalon, that is the midbrain. Mesencephalon or midbrain is further divided under 5 subcategories or 5 parts, which includes corpora quadrigemina, cerebral peduncle, substantia nigra, tegmentum, and the last midbrain nuclei. So these are the further subdivisions of the subparts of mesencephalon. Then coming to the functions of mesencephalon. The mesencephalon of the midbrain include the function of central pattern generator for locomotion. It also helps the nuclei of the midbrain help in brightening reflexes and also contains parts of reticular formation. Then we come to the third part of the brain, and that is rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon is also called as hindbrain, and it includes two parts, metacephalon and myelencephalon. Metacephalon includes pons and cerebellum, while the myelencephalon includes medulla oblongata. Midbrain, that is the mesencephalon, pons and medulla together also called as brain stem. The main function of this three as a whole, it acts as in control of cardiovascular and respiratory functions. It also controls motor activities and in sleep wakefulness cycle, as well as it also has visceral functions. So these are the functions overall of brain stem, which includes midbrain, pons and medulla. So this was all about brain. The forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Then the second part of central nervous system is spinal cord. Spinal cord starts from the base of the skull as an extension of medulla and it continues till the body of first lumbar vertebra. It has 31 segments, each having motor and sensory nerve roots, and they combine to form 31 pairs of bilaterally symmetrical pairs of spinal nerves. These nerves are called spinal nerves, and how many they are? They are 31 pairs, and they have motor, they are both motor and sensory nerve roots. What is the function of the spinal cord? Spinal cord receives sensory inputs from the peripheral structure via somatic nerves and they transmit it to brain and convey signals from the brain motor or autonomic areas to the target structures. Then coming after CNS, we also have something called as peripheral nervous system, PNS. PNS consists of somatic nerves from spinal cord which innervates different body structures like skin, muscles, bone. Function includes collect and conveys information to CNS by sensory axons and also convey motor signals from the central nervous system to muscles and the related structures via motor neurons. So that is peripheral nervous system, which consists of somatic nerves. Then we also have another nervous system like CNS and PNS, autonomic nervous system, which contains nerve fibers originating from the spinal cord and brainstem that innervates visceral structures, and it has a sympathetic and a parasympathetic division. Both sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions work reciprocally to regulate various visceral functions. So if sympathetic increases some visceral functions or activities, the parasympathetic will do the down regulation of that. So they act reciprocally to each other. Then coming to the functions of central nervous system. What does your CNS or the central nervous system, how does it function? How there is execution of the function of the nervous system? There are four major processes to this execution. First is recognition of stimulus and transmission of information to the CNS. What is sensation then? Sensation is basic recognition of the stimulus, which starts with application of a stimulus. Sensation starts with application of stimulus. Then what is receptor? They basically transduce the environmental energy into action potentials in the sensory neurons. The form of stimuli that are detected by the receptors include mechanical, chemical, photic, that is light, auditory and thermal, even electrical. So these are the various forms of stimuli which are detected and they are further transferred into action potentials. Then sensory neurons. Sensory neurons are something which transmit information in forms of nerve action potentials from receptors to the CNS by sensory pathways. So we came to know about what is sensation, what are receptors and what does the sensory neurons do. So these all comes under the first process of execution, that is recognition of a stimulus and transmission of information to the CNS. Second process of execution is information processing and perception of sensation. How do this perception occurs? Action potential of the sensory signals are transmitted is first relayed to thalamus. We already studied in the function of thalamus, the part of diencephalon of the forebrain, that they actually act as a relay centers. So they relay the information, the sensory impulses to the thalamus, and from there they are processed in the sensory cortex. In the sensory cortex, these signals are processed and transformed into other signals. They are transformed into integrated signals which then help in planning and programming of the various functions which are to be performed. So the command signals are thus transmitted to the effector organs for implementation of plans. So this is the second process of execution, that is information processing and perception of sensation. Then the third process of execution is generation of a command signal. These command signals then are transmitted to the effector organ where there is implementation to be done. And then comes the fourth process of execution, and that includes specific responses to the command signals, which are conveyed to the central nervous system. For example, what are the specific responses? Like movement of body parts, change in the visceral functions or change in the behavior of the human. These all are the final end result of these 4 processes of execution. Now coming to the cellular component of CNS. What are they? Basically there are 2 types of cells which are there. One is the glial cells and the second one is the neurons. The glial cells are also called as neuroglia. They are how many? They are more than 10 to 30 times more than that of the neurons. And how they differ from neurons? First, that they can multiply unlike neurons first. Secondly, they neither conduct action potential nor function, nor they form any functional synapse with other cells. So this is the major difference of these 2 types of cells which are found in central nervous system. The glial cells, also called as the neuroglia, and second one is the neurons. The neurons cannot multiply. Neurons form synapses. Neurons transmit impulses to form action potentials, unlike the glial cells. Then what are the functions of the glial cells? The functions of the glial cells are, as mentioned, they form mechanical matrix in which neurons are embedded. 1. Secondly, they play metabolic as well as nutritive roles for the neurons. Third, they regulate blood flow through the brain. Fourth, they insulate axon and synapse and electrically isolate them from one another. Fourth, they also phagocytose neural debris. So, other than transmitting action potential, other than forming synapse, these are the functions of the glial cells. Now, there are types of glial cells. Mostly, there are 4 types of glial cells: astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, microglia cells, and ependymal cells. Astrocytes, as the name denotes, are star-shaped cells, and they are basically functions in providing the mechanical matrix. Second is your oligodendrocytes. They are found close to the myelinated nerve fibers. We are going to deal about and talk about myelinated and non-myelinated nerve fibers when we'll talk about neurons. So what they do, these oligodendrocytes, they wrap many times around the axon to form myelin sheath, and that's why the neurons are called myelinated neurons. Because of this myelination, action potential is conducted in saltatory function. We'll talk about saltatory way of conduction in myelinated nerve fibers, which is much faster than that in the unmyelinated nerve fibers. We are going to talk all about this when we are going to talk further. Then comes the microglia cells. These microglia cells are the smallest cells in central nervous system, and they basically are the scavenger cells in brain, and they becomes mononuclear phagocytes to eliminate the debris and the organelles. So they are the scavenger cells, microglial cells. And the last are the ependymal cells. These are the types of glial cells we are talking about. And last is the ependymal cells, which live on the surface of the brain and the ventricles and the central canals of the spinal cord. So they are lined by the ventricles of the brain and the spinal cord, and the other areas as mentioned are lined by these ependymal cells. Then we are going to talk about the second type of cells present in the central nervous system, and they are called neurons. Neurons are basically the functional unit of central nervous systems, and their structure includes a cell body called soma, dendrites and axons. The soma includes the nucleus and the cytoplasm. Soma means the cell body. Nucleus are centrally or eccentrically placed and contains nucleolus, while the cytoplasm contains endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, prominent Golgi apparatus, cytoskeletal elements, as well as the cytoskeletal element includes microfilament, microtubules. They are also known as neurofilaments. The cytoplasm also contains a very specific granules they are called as nasal bodies, which are modified rough endoplasmic reticulum, which acts as a biosynthesis apparatus for synthesis of proteins in the neurons. present throughout the soma except in axon hillock. Then we talk about, after soma, the dendrites in the next class.